Welcome, welcome. This is Afro Picks, where I'll be primarily doing movie previews from a black perspective, as well as just talk random things relevant to black folks in the black community. And you might say, well, why does it have to be a black perspective? Well, just to give you an example of that, like let's say there's a movie like Gone with the Wind. A white person will have a different perspective on that movie than a black person would. It'll be a totally different view, and what a black person thinks about it it'll be different than what a white person thinks about it. Unless that black person is just a complete Uncle Tom or a coon, you know. So that's why it's important because, as black people, we don't often get to hear black perspectives on things. Okay? But I won't just review black quote unquote movies. I do all kinds of, I like all types of genres. I like action movies and superhero movies the best because I'm a superhero geek basically. So you'll hear a lot of that. And also Star Wars. You say, well, black people don't like Star Wars movies. Well, I'm one of the ones that like Star Wars, okay? That brings us to episode 8, The Last Jedi. And this film basically picks up where episode 7 leaves off. You got Kylo Ren and the First Order or whatever, First Grade Order. They're still trying to find the rebels and eliminate them, while you got Rey with Luke trying to find out answers on the situation and find out about her own history and her own purpose, as well as getting him to train her as a Jedi, which he eventually does. I would say this movie's a little bit stronger than episode 7, but these are some of the problems with this movie. And some of these problems are the same problems that I had with episode 7. You have Rey, Finn, and Poe, who are characters we don't care about. Why? Because the characters are not evolved. When we first saw them enter episode 7, we saw how they were. We saw everything about the character when they were first introduced in the few seconds or minutes. We saw them. There hasn't been any evolution. We haven't learned anything more about them, and that makes them uninteresting. They do the same things all the time, and that's boring. There's no backstory. There wasn't a backstory in 7, and we don't get really any more backstory as far as why all these things are happening. We don't know why we should be afraid of Kylo. We don't know how powerful he is or why he's powerful. None of that. We're just supposed to take what they give us. They've given us this new villain, and we're just supposed to be scared of him. That doesn't work. We need a reason to be scared of this guy. He's just a kid. And so when you have a continuation of the original Star Wars that had one of the best villains ever on screen, you got to have some type of good, adequate villain to make this a good series. And you don't give us a reason to think that about Kylo. We don't have any reason to compare him. Is he more powerful than Vader? Is he not? What is the comparison? Why should we be scared of this guy? And there's no surprises. I know in the trailer, you got Luke saying, it's not going to end like you think. Well, it does end just like you think. This whole movie is predictable. Everything is what you think is going to happen. Now, there was one thing that almost changed everything in this movie. Um, Rey is in a situation where she was put in a spot where she had to make a decision. And had she made that decision, that would have changed everything and put everything on a different course where everybody would have been like, whoa, now what are we going to do? And that would have gave us something else to learn about Rey's character. There would have been a change in her character, which we've been waiting on. Like I said, she does the same thing all the time. There's no flaws in her character. That's another thing. These characters, Rey, Finn, Poe, they don't. Real people have layers. Real people have flaws and complications and conflicts in their character. These don't. They do the same thing all the time. What I really like about this movie is Luke. Mark Hamill steals the show in this movie. And it's like he put his heart and soul into this role trying to save this series. I can tell that's how he felt. And same thing with you do have some moments with Carrie Fisher's role. This was a good last film for her. You know, some of her moments and some of Luke's moments, they give you the feel of the original characters we remember from the original Star Wars. Like Han's character in Seven, it sort of was like a ghost of Han. I didn't feel like it was the same Han from the first series. You know, it was just sort of just he just was stuck in there, and we didn't get a chance to really, you know, get to know him again or whatever. But Luke, he's this is, and again, Luke and Leia's character, they seem like regular human beings. They said some funny things. There were some funny moments with them, and you want the movie to surround them. And that's where one of the main problems I have is you want the movie to be about them, and you have all these other characters you don't care about, which are the main characters. That's the main issue here. Like Luke, you have the conflicted older Luke, and he handles that well. You don't know exactly what you're dealing with at first. You know, he has sort of a grumpy demeanor. You don't know why, but you learn about his character as you go. That's the way character evolution's supposed to be. And it works. But the problem is, it's not all about him. And you want it to be about him. And so there's also a couple things like with Leia. There was something that happened that was a little bit unpredictable. Something like, whoa, that happened. But then as soon as it happens, it's over. And then you get back to Poe and Rey and Finn, these people you don't care about. So I would just say this film, I would give it a C plus. I wanted to give it a higher, you know, if it was just about Luke and we could get rid of Ray and everybody, this movie could have been like a B plus, A minus. It could have been maybe even on the same level as the originals if it would have just been about Luke, because that's the only person I felt like I cared about, him and Leia in the movie. And then at the end, Luke does something that I felt was sort of unnecessary. You know, he does something in the finale where it's like you think he's going to do one thing which would get a certain result. He doesn't, he does something else, but you still get the same result. So at the end, you're like, did he really have to do that? But anyway, now, how were our people depicted in this movie? I do this at the end of my reviews. Um, John Boyega. I'm very unhappy with John right now because this was a major coon role for him, and I got to give him a coon stamp on this one because he tries to do the right thing all the time. There's no complications to his character. He's predictable, and he always fails, and he's always having to be bailed out, saved by girls, you know. But he does have, but at the same time, they try to make it a significant role where he does fight a person, and that person is a woman that we don't care about, don't know anything about, so we don't care about the fight. But this is the way Hollywood does. Hollywood will have, it's like a rule where to be strong, to be the main hero, you have to be white. It's okay for blacks to be villains or coons or thugs. That's okay, but when it's the main, when it's the heroic, strong person, we need to see a white man. This kind of stuff has got to change, and we need to expect better when it comes to that. This guy is weak, and when the trailer came out of Episode 7, you saw Boyega all getting excited, talking about take that Kylo Ren and all that, as if he was going to do something, and he knew the script. He knew he was going to get made a fool of in the movie. So he gave us, we got the idea that he was going to be some type of hero, and he's not. And they try to make it significant by letting him win a couple conflicts here and there, but you can't. It doesn't decide whether this guy's a hero or a clown. It doesn't decide who this guy is. We don't know what the deal is, and it's sad, you know, and that hurts the movie. I remember Lando Calrissian with Billy D. Williams That was probably the first time I seen a respectable black role in a major film, because he actually was a hero without any type of, even though he was sort of a side hero, he still didn't have any, there wasn't any coon aspects to his character. Um, and he was a leader, and he actually, he wasn't a clown. And it's really sad that after 35 years, I know Kennedy, whoever's running the Star Wars thing for Disney now, oh, we do a lot of diversity. There is a lot of diversity, but just because black people are visible, that doesn't mean they're in the roles they should be in. There is a lot of visible black roles, but they're still not positive. They're still clowns, coons, antagonists. They think they can get off by letting these characters do some heroic things sometimes. No, that's not enough. We need to expect better than just being sidekicks and villains and all these type of things. So that's my issue with that. Oh, and there is one more thing. There actually is a black woman in this movie, award winner Lupita Nyong'o, who is a ugly alien in CGI who's only in the movie about 1 minute. Because I guess you can't have a brother and a sister in a Star Wars movie because that's just too much. So it's 2018 now. Come on. And it's sad, like I said, after 35 years in a Star Wars movie, we were represented worse off than we were 35 years ago. That's not acceptable. Just expect better. I hope you liked it. I'll be doing a lot more stuff. Peace to you.